The air between us crackled, heavy with the scent of scorched earth and blood. My rifle was aimed at her heart. Her blade gleamed, poised to sever my throat the moment I faltered. Around us, the jungle burned, great plumes of smoke reaching for the poisoned orange sky. Above, the shattered wreckage of two warships, hers and mine, rained twisted metal down like some divine punishment. I didn't even know her name then, just that she was enemy, a Rothkin warrior, tall, fierce, clad in the broken remains of organic armor. Her eyes were silver, flickering with an inner light, and her four-fingered hands gripped that obsidian blade like an extension of her own soul. And me. I was just Sergeant Cole Marston, human, earthborn, survivor of the 17th Colonial Infantry. Orders were clear, kill on sight. Yet something held my trigger finger still. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the bone-deep hollowness that comes from fighting a war you stopped believing in years ago. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the flash of something human or close enough that passed through her alien eyes. She was tired too. Wounded, bleeding from a gash across her side. Alone just like me. The jungle's roaring fire closed in, forcing the choice. Kill her, move on. She moved first. But not toward me. Instead, she sheathed her blade and slowly, with an exaggerated motion, dropped to one knee. Her head bowed. It wasn't a surrender. Not exactly. It was something older. A truce gesture, maybe. Something sacred. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might burst. Lowering my rifle a fraction, I said hoarsely, "You understand me?" She lifted her gaze and, "God help me," she smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was grim, tired, full of pain. But it was real. And so, against every rule beaten into me by the Corps, against every instinct screaming this was a trick, I lowered my weapon. In that moment, a silent pact was born. We would survive or die together. The following days blurred into a fever dream of smoke and blood. The planet, once lush and teeming, was collapsing into chaos. Bioweapons unleashed by both our sides mutated the ecosystem into something monstrous. The trees twisted into blackened spires. Rivers frothed with acidic sludge. Predators, half beast, half nightmare, prowled the ash-choked ruins of once beautiful forests. We had no hope of rescue. Both fleets were gone, annihilated in the atmosphere above. It was just me and her. Two soldiers discarded by forces larger than we could ever comprehend. I called her Raya. It wasn't her real name, but she accepted it with a grunt when I gestured at her, then pointed at myself and said, "Cole." Communication was hard. Verbal language mostly failed. We used gestures, drawings in the dirt, sometimes just gut feeling. She was smart. Smarter than me in some ways. She knew the jungle better, spotted danger before I even smelled it. We scavenged supplies together, setting up crude camps at night, taking turns on watch. One evening, as acid rain fell in slow, hissing sheets, we huddled in a cave mouth, watching the world melt outside. I stitched a wound in her arm with a length of fishing wire and a rusty needle. She barely flinched, her silver eyes watching me with something like curiosity. "Why are you helping me?" I muttered, more to myself than to her. She answered with a gesture, pressing her palm against her chest, then against mine. "We are the same now," that gesture seemed to say. Lost, abandoned, fighting for nothing but breath. It wasn't easy. There were times I thought she'd kill me after all. The first real test came when we found the crash site. A human dropship, torn open like a tin can, smoldering in a clearing. Inside, survivors. At least a dozen of them. Some wounded, some still armed. And when they saw me emerge from the jungle, filthy and half-mad, they cheered. Salvation. Reinforcements. Until they saw Raya. One private leveled a rifle at her without hesitation. "She's with them," he screamed. "Shoot her." I stepped between them. My mind screamed at me, "You're betraying your own people," but my body moved faster. "She's with me," shouted. "She saved my life." That wasn't the full truth. We'd saved each other again and again, but how could I explain that in a language of suspicion and fear? The sergeant in charge narrowed his eyes. "Hard man. Worn down by too many losses." "She's a Rothkin," he said coldly. "That makes her a target." "No," I said. "That makes her a survivor." Guns pointed. Tension rose like a storm. In the end, it was Raya who chose. She stepped back into the jungle without a word, disappearing into the mist. I never saw her again that night, but I felt her absence like a severed limb. Days passed. I tried to integrate with the survivors, but it wasn't the same. They looked at me differently, like they couldn't decide if I was a hero or a traitor. They didn't understand what we'd been through, what war had stripped away. Eventually the creatures came. Not enemy soldiers. Worse, the spined ones. Mutations born from our tampering with this planet's DNA, descended on us like living nightmares. Hulking, chitin-armored beasts with too many eyes and claws sharp enough to tear through steel. We fought. We died. I survived, barely, dragging myself through the smoking remains of the camp, half deaf from the explosions. And when a spined one loomed over me, jaws gaping wide, black blade flashed. Raya. She moved like liquid death, carving into the monster with a savage grace that no human could match. When it fell, she stood over me, breathing hard, blood, theirs and hers, spattered across her armor. I laughed, hysterical, broken. "You came back," I croaked. She knelt, pulling me to my feet. And together we ran. The next months blurred. We learned each other better. Fought as a unit. She taught me how to read the land, how to use the mutated environment as a weapon. I taught her how to use human weapons salvaged from fallen soldiers. We spoke in gestures, broken words, the universal language of survival. We fought off more spined ones, scavenged old ruins for supplies, and once, miraculously, found an old medical pod that stitched up a wound in my side before the infection could take me. We were ghosts in a dead world. And slowly, impossibly, we built a life. Not a normal life. Never that. But a life nonetheless. A shelter made from scavenged materials. Fresh water from a still pure spring deep in the jungle heart. A safe place where firelight kept the worst monsters at bay. We laughed sometimes. Clumsily. Painfully. But it was real. She showed me how Rothkin mourned their dead. Small stone cairns, built in silence under starlight. I showed her how humans told stories to keep hope alive. One night, under a sky painted with alien constellations, I told her about Earth. About oceans, cities that touched the clouds, about music and food and all the little things we fought for but rarely remembered to appreciate. She listened with a rapt intensity, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. When I finished, she touched her hand to her chest again. "Home," she seemed to say. "Home is worth fighting for." Years passed. Or maybe it was just months. It was hard to tell without the sun, always hidden behind a burning sky. We found other survivors sometimes. Rothkin, human, even other species caught in the crossfire. Some attacked us. Some we helped. Some joined us.